In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, I bear witness there is no God but God, and God is the only one who has the right to be worshipped. I also bear witness that Prophet Moses, Prophet Jesus, and Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon them, are the messengers of God, and I seek refuge in Allah from the rejected, Satan. So greetings of peace, and thanks for tuning in. May the peace and blessings of Allah be with you. So, in this video, we're going to be preparing for the coming of Imam Mahdi, as well as the second coming of Jesus, peace and blessings be upon him. We're going to be looking at the Schumann resonance. We're going to be looking at some scientific stuff dealing with the Schumann resonance, how it's transferred through water, through the air. We're going to be looking at how humans actually affect the Schumann resonance. So we're gonna tie all that in. So just to get the basics here, if you don't know what frequency is, or if you don't know what the Schumann resonance is, the Schumann resonance. Here's the Russian observatory here that they have sensors that pick up the Schumann resonance, which is simply put is the electromagnetic pulse of the Earth. So the average pulse is around 7.83 here. Is the average registered pulse of the Earth. But obviously their frequencies go up to basically infinity. So these are low-level frequencies. As well as the human being here, we give off frequency as well. Our brains and our hearts give off frequency. Delta being is when we're sleeping, is deep sleep. Theta is the next rise up here in hertz, which is creativity, insight, and dreams. Alpha is sort of like day-to-day stuff, physical and mental activity. Beta is starting to be more awake, more alert, conscious thinking and excitement, and gamma being heightened perceptions, advanced problem solving, and cognitive processing. So I believe when we're processing higher information from the divine, like here from the Quran, from chapter 9 verse 32, they seek to put out the light of Allah with the breath of their mouths, but Allah disdains every other thing save that He will perfect His light, however much the disbelievers may consider it hard. So one thing we can process here cognitively is that Allah, what the creator of the universe really cares about is perfecting His light, perfecting the consciousness of our souls, and this is what matters most to the unique creator of all that exists, even though the disbelievers may consider it hard. So frequency here is how many electrical magnetic pulses per second. So here would be 8 electrical pulses per second. Here would be 20 pulses per second. Here 32 pulses per second. So anything after 32, we are getting into gamma waves here, gamma hertz here, and we can see here these the light is actually going right off the charts past the 40 range. So we could be in the 50s, 60s, 80s. We don't know. We could be these pulses, these amplitudes could be well beyond the 40 level. So this was taken at the end of Ramadan, and congratulations to all those who participated in the month of Ramadan. After 32 hertz per second, electrical pulses per second, we're in the gamma. So in these areas here, we were the Earth was pulsating in the gamma ranges. We can also see here. This is yesterday's and the day before's chart, or today's chart, I should say, and the day before's chart. How some of this was actually going into the gamma ranges as well. This shows the frequency of the different frequency coloring. So in this band wave is the white. This band wave here is in the yellow, red, and green here in the different waves here. So these all correlate, these frequencies all correlate with the human wave. Okay, so the Earth is a living soul, living being, and produces an electromagnetic pulse not created by lightning strikes. And also here, the human being generates a electromagnetic pulse not created by electrical lightning or electrical things coming out of her fingers. Okay, I don't know. I just see a lot of people say this is evolved by electrical activity by lightning strikes, but there's no correlation to that that I found to be authentic or truthful. And this here is the amplitude. So this is how loud or how powerful these frequencies get. So the day before we hit almost 55, and then yesterday we hit, or today actually, earlier today we hit up to 68 in the power level of the frequency. And we'll go back to the chart. So this is today's chart. Goes back about a day or so, and this picture here was taken during the last days of Ramadan, from the 2nd to the 4th here, and there was much more activity in the days after as well. So how are we going to tie this in with Imam Mahdi? So Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, he existed over 1400 years ago and prophesied someone from his family, referred to as Imam Mahdi, will transform the earth from injustice to justice, from poverty to abundance, and a lot of good things would occur in his rulership. So these are some companions of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and they mentioned hundreds of years ago. So when he, Imam Mahdi, will make his advent, the earth will radiate with a celestial illumination of its Lord. The earth will radiate a celestial illumination of his Lord. So I had mentioned in previous videos that Imam Mahdi will, that I believe that he was born in 1979. That is the 1400 year calendar of the Islamic calendar, 1400, and that was prophesied by other scholars of Islam that he would be making his appearance or being born in the earth in the 1400 Hijri, which is 1979, and that correlates when the Schumann residents started acting irregularly. They thought that something was wrong with their machines in the early 80s. In the early 1980s, they thought something was wrong with their machines, but they double-checked everything. It's just there was an increased amount of strength in the Schumann resonance, which is illustrated here. Now I don't have graphs to show you that, but that's from some of the research I done, and I made the conclusion that Imam Mahdi must be present in the world for these frequencies to be going off the charts. What helps increase our frequency is doing good to others, having higher morality, like I said, righteous good deeds, being in alignment with reality, with truth. There's another hadith here. So when the Qaim of the al-Bayt rises up, which is referring to Imam Mahdi, he will distribute the public treasury to the people evenly and will behave justly with them. So by implementing justice, by implementing charity to people, spreading out the wealth, not just amongst the rich people, that all this raises up frequency. Tests have been done where people who do good deeds to others, say good words, this all raises our frequency. The Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, and his family had said, among the signs of the advent of Imam Mahdi are the following. Assets and wealth will flow like a flood among the people, knowledge and learning will become manifest, and commerce will expand and flourish. So many good things will come when Imam Mahdi becomes ruler. While he's rising, the earth will radiate with the celestial illumination of his Lord, as we see here. Assets will flow, wealth will flow among all the people, knowledge and learning will become manifest, will be increased, and knowledge and the commerce, the economy will expand and flourish. Also, plants will flourish. There's other hadiths that discuss how the Arabian Peninsula will be transformed into lush greenery. I do believe that it will be an increase of the life force energy. and we're going to look at some scientific stuff here by Luc Montagnier, which I've touched on in a previous video. That when you add, they have one here, one tube here full of human DNA, and they sent an EMS, which is an electromagnetic signal, to this one. It would transfer those DNA into an adjacent tube here several days later. So this kind of graph shows it a little bit better. So this tube here is the only one filled with human DNA. They have an electromagnetic generator pulsing at 7 times per second, which is 7 hertz. And then they would place other tubes of water that would have no DNA in it, and after a few days, that DNA, that human DNA, would transfer into the other tubes of water after a few days. So they call that EMS, which is electromagnetic signal. So DNA in itself can emit information and transfer itself into other tubes of water. So as we go here to the Quran, which I find very interesting, chapter 24, verse 45, and Allah has created every animal from water. So it's interesting how Allah referred this to water, that DNA can transfer from water to water. Some of them can move on their bellies, and some of them can move on their 2 feet, and some among them move upon 4. Allah creates what He pleases. Verily, Allah is possessor of every power to do what He will. So that's very interesting. When you contemplate these verses from the unique creator of all that exists, it helps increase cognitive processing, which increases frequency, which I've mentioned in my previous videos. When you're embodying these divine laws and commandments of the Most High God, you are increasing your frequency, which increases the Earth's frequency, because we're all connected here on the Earth. As we show in a diagram here, that our frequencies intertwine. The brain frequency ranges are the same as the frequency ranges here, as we see here as well. So the Earth frequencies and the human frequencies are identical, and like mentioned before, the Earth is a living, breathing organism. It has its own soul, as human beings have their own soul in a living, breathing organism. So the more we embody these divine commandments of the Most High, the more the earth will fill with justice, the more abundance will occur on the earth. And this will peak in the time of Imam Mahdi, as well as the second coming of Jesus. Peace and blessings be upon him. And as I said before, we see the evidence for this rise in the Schumann resonance amplitude charts here. Another one here I find very interesting here. New faith is kindled when a spiritual weak comes in contact with a divine reformer. It is he who produces fire for you out of the green tree, that you kindle another fire from it. Even so, a new faith is kindled when the spiritually weak come in contact with the divine reformer. So another example would be like one candle can light hundreds or thousands of other candles. Okay, as we see here, DNA can be transferred remotely through like a Wi-Fi system, can be transferred remotely. So just as one candle can light thousands, one spiritual reformer can reform an entire planet or an entire universe, which has been prophesied by Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. So I find that very interesting, and we've got other commandments here. Very important that we guard against evil, so we increase our eminence here. Allah sent the Quran for a successful mission. The way to rise eminence for all nations is through the Quran. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you take Allah as your shield, and may the peace and blessings of